All right, welcome back to another episode of Nothing Moves Without Us, a Black culture podcast. Today, Tatiana and I are discussing seasons two through four of Martin. Episode one, season one, episode one recap. It felt, it felt hearty. Like
Yeah.
we talked for a minute because there's really a lot to go over with the show. Um, it's been an interesting rewatch for me. Like I said, I watched it two 2 years ago. So it's been interesting, like rewatching it when it's as fresh and having just like
hmm
different mixed emotions rewatching it so soon. But before we kick off, I know you wanted to talk about a new discovery about Malcolm X and Red Fox being best friends.
Yes. It's not like it's interesting to me. I hope it's interesting to everybody else, but I thought it was really cool that in the 1940s, Malcolm X and Red Fox both were working in Harlem as dishwashers, and they were like best friends, apparently inseparable. And because they were both so light skinned, Red
So
Fox was
light
called
skinned, I like
so
that. So
light
light
skinned.
skinned.
Malcolm X was called Detroit Red, and Red Fox was called Chicago Red. And I thought that was just really funny because I saw that on Twitter yesterday. But it was also it would have been what was it? What was yesterday? The 11th? Yeah, so it's
11th, yeah.
been like yeah, Red Fox died in 1991, so he's been dead for 31 years, which is I guess crazy to think about, but yeah, rest in peace to those legends. I think that's really cool that those two were best buds.
I don't. I feel like I might have seen it a while ago, but I didn't really process it. I've never really like dived into
hmm
Red Fox. I've seen him in like movies here and there. I remember seeing Sanford and Son, just like in passing on. I don't even remember where, but I remember it just like cycling
Yeah.
TV and seeing it and being like, I don't want to see this, right? Because it's. I
Yeah.
was still young. Like I think I was in my teens or 20s, and you're not really vibing on that. Um, being older now, and doing this whole, I'm hoping that, not hoping, planning at some point that Sanford and Son ends up being a show that we watch because I don't know anything about it except that I think they work at
Yeah.
a
It's really
junkyard.
funny. It's
Sanford and
really
Son.
funny.
Okay, you
I've watched
watched the episode?
episodes because both my parents watched Sanford and Son, and like you said, it was always on TV. And I think it used to come on probably TBS, and I think on the weekends or something. But I used to watch an episode here or there, and I'd be like, "This is pretty funny." I never thought I would think this was funny
That's
because
nice.
it's like I feel like maybe even two generations removed from what I'm used
Right.
to. But you never know until you watch it. But it was pretty funny. I liked it.
Now, I'm looking at a picture of them. It's Twix Mix, twixandmix.tumblr.com, and they look
Yeah,
like twins. They have the same nose, same lips, like they could be brothers or
yeah,
cousins of some sort. Yeah. It's just interesting. I mean, this is when like Malcolm was, you said, Detroit Red, when he was a troublemaker back
yeah,
in the day, and you think about what allows people to deviate, and where those life choices and paths kind of
I'm
take
gonna show
people.
you the picture, but I don't know how these like that's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the one I have. That's cool. Yours is colored. Mine is
and
black
then you
and
see
white.
them like when they're a bit older. They're like look like they're reminiscing about the old times of washing dishes in Harlem.
All right, remember that time we robbed such and such? That time,
Because that's what they were doing.
little little light skinned devils. That's what they were,
Yeah,
right? They call themselves
they
red.
knew
They know
exactly what they
they
were
know what
doing.
they was doing.
Exactly.
All right, Martin, yo, season 2 through 4. What was the a rush for you? What were the initial feelings rewatching
So
this for you?
I feel like Martin has become one of my comfort shows. I say like Say by the Bell because I really will sit and watch Say by the Bell all day because I think it's so funny. But Martin now has become this for me. Like I sat and I watch it and it's just so funny. The chemistry on that show is incredible between the whole cast and they literally just they keep you in stitches. Like this, it's so ridiculous. But Martin and his one-liners, like he's so good. He's so good. And even like Pam, she can hold her own, but Martin is like a special kind of
Right,
troll,
right,
and I
right.
just love it. He's just so good. But yeah, it just felt good to rewatch because I think I can't remember what episode it was. It was probably one of the some episode, I don't know, but I was in here crying, like tears streaming down my face, crying because I was like, I cannot believe this show still holds up after like 30 years. But yeah.
Yeah, it's they all realizing like within seasons 2 through 4, everyone starts getting a bit more shine time. You get a bit more character development, in
Yeah.
terms of people having like their own individual stories or episodes, and everyone starts getting like their one liners. Tommy's always hitting you with the "What's up now?" I really started to just I really appreciate it. Like I love Tommy's jovialness. He's like a big
Hmm.
ass fucking kid. He's like a
He
big ass
is.
kid. And I'm watching it. I was wondering like what the writing is like. We everyone's jokes are funny. Everyone like everyone sells it well, but there's just something about Martin just always gets set up somehow, or it always just feels that Martin's jokes or lines just elevate. They just kind of like they just hit a lot harder than yeah, yeah, and just trying to, I guess, differentiating. Thank you, differentiating between like when is it like is it like what do you think? Do you think it's the
Hmm.
lines, or do you think it's Martin Lawrence himself just has a uniqueness to him that really oversells it?
It is definitely Martin Lawrence, but also I feel like a lot of people don't realize how important delivery is when telling a joke. And Martin has perfect delivery. He has amazing delivery, and like the physicality of it is also always very good. The same thing with Pam. Pam does the same thing. She has great delivery. She's got great physicality when it comes down to it. Same thing with Tisha Campbell. I'm like switching between the names too. Gina,
Right,
Pam,
right,
Martin.
right.
They all have great. They all have great delivery, great physicality, and it's just them. They're talented. Like they're just very very funny, but Martin especially, like his deliveries are perfect. Like the best part of a joke is how it lands, and he does an amazing setup. He does a amazing just delivery, and then like when the punchline finally drops, like you're already crying and laughing because he set you up. He took you on a journey. That's how I
Right,
feel when I watch Martin, because he puts his foot in it,
right, right.
as they say.
So comparing season 1 and our episode recap, what felt unique
Hmm.
overall? What felt unique in these 3 middle seasons for you?
um Definitely there's way more back and forth between Pam and Martin, because we discussed like in the first season, you don't really see them bump heads as much. They're not really like, you know, getting into these verbal fights.
Right.
Um, but in seasons 2 through 4, they definitely are. Um, I feel like, especially in season 2, it's just like nonstop, but it doesn't get old, and that's the best thing about their like rapport. It doesn't get old. It doesn't feel old. It's just funny. They're just great.
Yeah, I think I kind of, I mentioned that, I said earlier that watching it as soon as watched it, watching it as recently, that's the word, watching it as recently as I did, uh, some, some of it feels kind of dry.
Hmm.
Although like they still land, it's still funny. It's at times it's like I get it, I get it. Yeah, like I want a bit more. Um, I felt like season 2 was kind of light, and I feel like it built the tension between between Pam and Martin, built up
Hmm.
like really heavily in season 4. Um, I, I just watched this episode. I forget which one it is, but there's an episode where she has him like hemmed up, and he's like on the floor looking up at her. She's like, say please." And he's like I guess the physical comedy is what keeps it still funny, right? And yeah, maybe that
Yeah.
right. The at times that the language and the verbal tension has its
Mm-hmm.
limits, but the physical comedy, physical response really oversells it. And then they do the post credit scenes, and you see all the different takes of them going back. Like those are some of my favorite post credit scenes with Pam and Martin arguing because like you see how they just kind of interact and go back and forth,
Yeah.
and they just kind of find the perfect lineup just to like make it work well.
What was your favorite post credit scene?
Um, I think it was that. Let me see if I could find which episode
Okay.
that was.
I'll I'll tell you what mine is. It's
Okay.
when it's when Martin is coming out of their bed, like the bedroom. I can't remember what season it is, but it's two, three, or four. He's coming out of the bedroom and he's singing a Montel Jordan song, and he keeps going, "Gotta get your groove on," and he
Lord.
can't stop. He just keeps doing it, and then he goes, "All right, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop." And he goes back in the room and he comes out and he does it again. And he's like, "Gotta get your groove on," and
Got
it's just
your
it
groove on.
kills me. And he's dancing and
Gotta get
everything.
your groove on. I don't know what episode it is. Maybe it's
Hmm.
Old School Lovin' when is uh Gina gets fired because Martin wants her to because she hasn't been cooking in like 2 weeks and Martin wants her to spend more time. I think it might be that episode, but if it is, whatever. But the post credit scene is again the scene of Pam hemming him up and like yelling at him, and there's different takes of him like fighting her, like the physical like you talked about the verbal comedy being on point, but the way they understand space I think is always amazing, right? Like
Yeah,
when he's annoyed with Cole or when he's swinging at someone, right? The timing is perfect where like he goes for a kick but they grab him right at just the right moment, or they pull
yeah.
Cole back at just the right moment. And the post credit scene is um Pam drops into the floor and like Gina turns her back and like he swings and like you just see him miss Gina by like this much space. And like he's on the floor, he's laughing, and then he like runs and spears uh Gina and like lifts her up, and then he lifts up Pam. And I just like that because it I think it's me like projecting like the demise of the show, right? Like knowing
Yeah,
that it turns bad at a certain point, and
yeah,
like holding on to that moment where we see them post credit having fun, and he engages a bit more. Like usually the
right.
post credit scenes are just they're just physically separated and it's just talking, but this was like very physical, and he kind of went
Mm-hmm.
beyond the script and just added a little bit more energy into it. So it felt like it felt like the genuine uh staff not staff genuine connection between them. Yeah.
Yeah, you could definitely tell because of how good their chemistry is that like like they were good friends. Not just Gina and Martin, but Gina, Martin, and Pam and Tommy and Cole. Like outside of this like filming, it feels like they were probably like really good friends, and I'm sure they were because especially Tashina Arnold and Tisha Campbell, they grew up together. They've been acting together for forever. They were in Little Shop of Horrors together. And
Right, right, right,
Martin Lawrence and Tisha Campbell also have history because they ran in the same circles and they did House Party together.
right,
So it's like you could definitely tell like this comes from years of um, knowing each other and just knowing how to like they curated their rapport. And I think that's like the best thing about this is the best thing about being creative and doing comedy and drama or whatever it is just having that rapport with someone, um, so that you kind of feed off of each other, and you definitely get that with them.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about character development. Any any character growth for you like compared to season one? And we have these characters, we know who they are in season one, and they consistently kind of stay that way
Mm-hmm.
throughout the next three seasons, seasons 2 through 4.
Right.
Cole, I asked you last episode, right? Do people like Does a person like Cole exist? And you said yeah.
Yeah, man.
And at times it feels like Cole gets dumber.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
like something, yeah, like his character annoys me. Like I have a low tolerance for
Idiocy.
airheadedness.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I, like yeah, I try not to be mean and call people idiots and slow because like I understand we all have our circumstance and we just are
Right.
who we
Right.
are. I have a low tolerance for airheadedness. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's an episode where like I just don't know why they rely on Cole still. Like why do you rely on him to do anything at this point, right? And then you can't blame him at the end of the day, right? You blame the
Yeah.
people who empower him. Um, like I said, I love just being more immersed into Tommy's character. Like I said, his
Mm-hmm.
jovialness. Like he's just like a big ass kid, which
Yeah.
is just fun it's fun to see. Gina and Martin's dynamic still feels a bit linear, the
Mm-hmm.
back and forth squabble and all of that. But what stood out to you in terms of character development? What were some new themes you might have saw within the characters?
I really like the character development or like the relationship development between Pam and Tommy. Pam and Tommy getting together because I feel like you don't really, if you watch it with like fresh eyes, you don't really see it coming. I guess at least not to me. Like watching it around the first time, just because it's like Martin can't stand Pam, Pam can't stand Martin, but then they get together with each other's like best friends. So
Right,
I really like that because it kind of it doesn't even humble Martin at all or make him think to be nicer to Pam
right, right, right.
because like they're all like going on couples dates. I really like that because it also the Dr. Love episode where he gives the advice about like, oh, you should go ask that girl out if you really want to ask her out if you think she's cute, and then they end up getting together, and the first person to realize it is Gina. So I thought that was really funny because it was like watching him. Yeah, like you said, it's linear because you're just watching him still putting his own foot in his mouth. Um, they definitely make Cole stupider. Just, he just is. They really, they really pound it into you. Like he is dumb and he lives at home with his mom. And those are the two most important things about him. And also that his girlfriend is fat. Like those are the three most important things about Cole.
Big
Um, Big
Shirley.
Shirley, who they show like one time.
Right, and she wasn't that big, right? She was like
She
on
was like
the
on.
couch.
Yeah, she was just
Well,
like she was at the fight party. No, she wasn't at a fight party. It's when Cole was staying at Martin's, I think, and he had a party, and they show Big Shirley, and she's just like she does security at the airport, and
right,
she
right,
was
right.
just like she was plus size, but they made it seem like she was huge, and then like in later seasons they show her like at Nipsey's, and it's like I think we talked about this where they don't show anything from the neck up. It's
Right,
just her
right, right,
body, and
right.
she's like humongous. Like it feels like she's also 8 feet tall. But yeah, he's still an idiot. I think they kind of you get to realize how Martin is actually very serious about his craft as
Mm,
a DJ. He's serious about it. Like he enjoys it, which is cool to see him being really focused on this dream. Same thing with Gina being very goal oriented. Um, but other than that, like there's really no character development as far as their relationship goes because them having relationship problems is pretty much the premise of the show for at least the first 3 seasons. Um,
right.
but other than that, like I think everyone's pretty much stays the same except like Cole getting dumber. And yeah, you just kind of see where their focus is, and so not much development now that I think about it. Maybe with
That's it.
Shanae,
Shanae.
things Shanae's
Yeah.
development.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like she's
Yeah, go
as
ahead.
obnoxious. Sorry, not as obnoxious. You kind of get to like you kind of like Shanae.
Right, 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 right.
She beefs with Pam and Gina, but like she's funny as hell.
Yeah, I forgot what you just said. Yeah, in the first 3 seasons, the tension is between like Martin and Gina and their relationship,
Hmm.
and I feel like in season 4, it's Martin and Gina's relationship and everyone else always being involved and like messing up their plan, like their trip, like the anniversary when Cole kept bringing all these random girls over after Big Shirley broke up with him.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of tension between, I mean, even more tension with Pam and Tommy
Hmm.
and Gina and Martin. Like, they, although they both were couples at dating, it's still, Martin's ego. Everyone's always intruding on Martin's space and his ego and everything he needs, and it
Definitely.
kind of it creates this additional tension. So you brought up Shanae. Who are some of your favorite new characters, or which additional character development did you like? Like I love. I mean, I talked about Shanae in the first season. I love Shanae's character,
Yeah.
um,
Um.
and seeing her just real quick, like seeing her additional value, right? Like she's a small business owner, right? She's not just like this loud mouth, ghetto next door neighbor girl. Like, nah, she's a business owner. She has her own nail hair salon. Um, and like when they did that episode of the, what was it, the Elegant Ladies? What is it called?
Oh yeah.
Sophisticated Ladies, right?
Yeah.
They played Gina. There was like, Gina works for someone. Shanae has her own business.
Yeah. And Shanae was really like loosen those ladies up.
Right,
Like
right,
you don't
right,
have to
right,
be so tight collared and all that. Definitely Shanae is great. Brahman is just like he's another guy that's worked with Martin in the past because I think he was
right.
in I can't remember what he was in. No, I think not Martin, but they run in the same circle. Kid and Play, Martin. He was in Class Act with Tommy because Thomas Michael Ford was in Class Act. He was the antagonist in that. But Brahman, because he's like, what are you doing? He's just such a ridiculous person. Even when like Martin was doing that, he was doing the job interview for the radio, not the radio station for the TV show. Um, and like Brahman was interviewing too, and he showed up and he had on a tight ass t shirt and a clip on tie and high water pants, and he came in and he was like, "Bro, man, what are you doing here?" He said, "They called me." Like it's so ridiculous. Or when, um, bro, it's got to be Bro Man. It's my favorite. And then when Bro Man, what is it? When Martin's, what is it? His CD player goes missing, and he accuses.
Yo, yo, that's one of my favorite
That's
episodes.
a good
Yeah,
ass episode, and he's like
when he
accusing
has the
everybody. The dog.
the dog, the dog. Hey, hey, ice, stop that.
I think I was reading that they did not know. They didn't know that he was going to do that. They didn't know he was going to come in with the fake dog. And so they just went with it. But if you like watch the episode carefully, there are times where like Tommy cannot even hold it together. He has to literally like look away from the camera because he's laughing so hard about this fake dog. But when Brumman climbs through the window, like they're not even there and like walks
Right.
over and like sets it down. He's like, Brumman, like, why did you take this? He's like, I left you a note. I put it under the sink in the bathroom. And it's just like, why the fuck would you do that? Who's checking there?
I thought-
And I think it's because he said, because
I
you
think,
need more toilet paper.
yeah, I used up your last bit of toilet paper, so I figured you looked there. Oh man.
It's so
Um,
ridiculous, but definitely, bro, man. Um, who is yours? Because they, you bring in like Tracy Morgan and
yeah, Tracy Morgan definitely as Hustle
uh
Man.
huh.
There was Did you see the episode where it was Cole on Ice? Cole was working season 4, episode 9, where Cole like loses his job because he goes to Martin's show,
Mm-hmm.
and they have Hustle Man on. Hustle Man comes in and Martin's like, Hustle Man? He's like, nah, you talk about my cousin Byron. And it's like some shit like, yo, oh man. But my two favorite characters are Miss Jerry, played by Jerry Gray,
Mm-hmm.
the older woman who's always fighting with Martin, fighting with Dragonfly Jones. I love Miss Jerry, man. She's hilarious. She's loud mouth. She's with the shits. I love her. and Titus, played by Bentley Kyle Evans, and he's the tall, he's the tall, like flamboyant guy who goes
Oh,
after like the DMV episode.
oh my God.
He said, "All Almond Brown."
Almond
You so
Brown.
almondy. He said, "Let me take your little test for you," and he just starts filling in random stuff.
Because he's got a crush on Martin. Almond
Oh,
Brown.
oh, man, I love it. There was another episode. I think like he shows up a lot in different episodes. Like I know he's there in season 2 a bit,
He's in
and I think there's one point where go ahead.
he's in an episode where Gina has a party at her house
Right,
and
right,
he's
right.
there
And I
too.
forgot, yeah, and I forgot what was said, but I remember he comes up. He's like, "Is it moi?" It's like, what? Yo, just random out of pocket, just hilarious, man. Like he has some of the funniest one liners to me.
he's
Yeah, so him and Mr.
yeah,
Jeremy,
he's funny too because like he just where did he come from? He just appears and
right?
he also can't really keep it together either when he's in scenes. Because when he's in that DMV scene and he's like almond brown and then he like twirls away. I'm like, this guy is hilarious. Because even Martin
Yo,
can't keep it together. And I feel like if you can
right?
make him laugh, then you've succeeded, you know? But
Yo, man.
he's funny.
All right. So what were some standout episodes for you? Like, what
Oh man, there were so many
you
standout
have so
episodes.
many.
Look at these. This is I don't know if you can see all the highlighting I did on this paper that I have
I
here.
see the highlighted.
Um, Love is in Your Face Part 1 and Part 2, which is the episodes where Martin and Gina get into like the big fight that pretty much ends their relationship. Those are my some of my favorite
That's
episodes, most interesting episodes to watch.
what seasons are those?
That's
Three,
season 2.
season two.
Season 2,
Okay.
that's episode 18 and 19.
Okay.
And that's the two episodes where Gina's trying to figure out how serious Martin is about their relationship, and Martin, because he's on that macho bullshit, doesn't really want to admit that he like loves Gina, even though like marriage seems to be very important to her. He kind of like doesn't want to commit, and I don't get it. And then she obviously wants him to like to sweep her off her feet and propose, and he doesn't even
She wants to be treated like a lady,
yeah,
right?
like a lady. She wants to be, yeah, she wants to feel appreciated, and she like packs up and moves to New York because she doesn't think this guy is serious about her. And then when he does propose, he's like, will you marry me, Gina? Damn, are you happy now? And like I remember watching this episode because I watched it of course for the podcast, but I think I watched it last year. And this for the most part, this show is like very, very funny all the time. Those two episodes made me want to like fist fight Martin Payne. I'm like, you are so dumb. You are so dumb for this because he says it's obvious. He admits it all the time that Gina's like he loves Gina, he loves her so much, and Gina loves Martin. Like there's no question of it. But he was like didn't want to make that commitment. Like you're already in a committed relationship. Like what about this is making you feel like you're trapped, like
I feel
she
like
loves him. That's why she wants to marry him.
yeah, I felt like it's the like the male ego
Yeah,
and feeling like you're being forced into the someone like she's forcing his hand versus letting him be in control, and it unraveling when it kind of
yeah,
unravels.
that's definitely the vibe of it. I think because it's not like a serious matter because of course this is a situation comedy, but it was definitely like a point. And I remember even watching this as a kid and it being like this big deal when it was on TV. Like Gina went to New York and she left Martin, and then you're like, how is he going to
Right.
get her back? Because he's obviously like going to get her back, but and he did it the right way. But it shouldn't have taken all of that. I feel like sometimes, especially when it comes to the like relationships they show them on TV, like men have to make this grand gesture because they weren't making any sort of gesture beforehand. And it's like if
Right.
even if he I feel like even if he just had like a nice ass ring and took her to like a nice ass dinner and was like, will you marry me, she would have been happy with that. But because he had to be Martin, he had to be Marty Mart, He fucked it up for himself and then had to fly to damn New York and hire Brian McKnight. Like, you silly bastard. But those were definitely
I, f-
two of my favorite ones.
I feel like that kind of ties into in the first episode you said he was cheap,
Mm-hmm.
and like yeah, I think that's part of it,
Yeah.
right? Like he doesn't want to do the he doesn't want to offer the gift. I'm trying to think overall how, like what overall is Martin Payne romantic?
No.
Right? Does he take a romantic initiative throughout the show?
No.
Right, and the answer is
Yeah.
no. Um,
Definitely not.
and you gotta learn the hard way, right? Like in the season one, the first episode, right? We talked about here's a man who isn't willing to be vulnerable and cry when he was like, "No, Gina, please, no, Gina,"
Yeah.
right? And he still doesn't learn his
Yeah.
lesson, right? He doesn't learn that she will leave if you don't do what you need to
Right.
do. And like this is like the last time he fucks around and finds
Yeah.
out. He
Definitely.
learns, right? He learns.
Yeah. He definitely had to learn the hard way. Um, I wanna I wanna ask you what your favorite episodes are too, but I just want to mention one more. It's so many. There's so many. It's especially in season two. But Mama's baby, Martin's maybe, when Martin finds out he might have a kid.
Right, right,
And
right.
who is it? Marcus T. Polk, who's Miles on Moesha. It comes to the down to the TV station and he's like, "You're my father." And Martin like, which was really cool because usually I feel like in these kind of situations, maybe we've been like, "You better get the hell out of my face," but he kind of just embraced it because to him it felt almost obvious that it was his kid. And then it gives you that,
Right.
yeah, he's just kind of like, he got the big ears, like he's funny like me, but it's because he watched him on TV and he just knew his mom
Right.
used to know him. And then he gives you that legendary line. He was like, "I'm sorry I lied to you, Martin. I just didn't want to go to
Martin.
Arizona." And then Martin mocks him like, "I'm sorry I lied to you, Martin."
Oh, you lied, you lied. Oh man.
That's
Oh
definitely
man.
another one. But what is some of your what were some of your favorite episodes?
The DMV episode, season 4, episode 25, DMV Blues, and I talked about both Titus and Miss Jerry are in those episodes. Sherman Hemsley is in that episode. Uh, it's it's just funny, like the episode starts off with him and Gina, like they got down for the morning or whatever, and he has like a jumpsuit on, he has shades on, and Gina's like, "Why are you wearing sunglasses? There's no sun in here." He's like, I need to rest my eyes, baby. Like, I'm resting my eyes. I'm not, it's the weekend. So it goes to the DMV, and it's just like it's just a non-stop. Like I like the episodes where Martin is in society. Like he has to, because you see the type of person he really is. Like, you know, I value that he's an asshole to
Yeah,
everyone. Like that, he's fair. He's
yeah.
fair, right? Like, the smoke he gives to Pam and all his friends, he gives it to everyone else. Like he doesn't care, and I respect that. But I really love I love that episode. So because of Titus Almond
Almond
Brown, like
Brown.
that within itself is just hilarious. Him cheating, like the nerdy kid. Let me get his name. Like digging his wedgie, right? Like they're taking a written exam, and he's like, "Yo, it's Mike." Martin's like, "Yo, it's Michael Jackson." Everyone turns around. He takes the he takes the nerd kid's paper. Then somehow ends up being like the nerd kid gets accused of cheating, and then he walks around and digs a wedgie out his butt, and it's just like the small little nasty funny things. Him being online with Miss Jerry whooping his ass, like all of that was
Sherman
hilarious to me.
Hemsley,
Um,
that was
yeah,
cool too.
the,
I really like that episode basically because I've never had that experience. I've been to the DMV Clifford one time in my whole life. One time. And I was like, this is dumb, but like never had to do any of that crazy stuff, probably because I don't have a driver's license. but I was like in and out. So every time I see any sort of DMV episode of any TV show, I'm just like, this is so intriguing that everyone's having the same experience at any
Right,
DMV
right, right, right.
ever. But yeah, that's a good episode.
It's weird like thinking about that. I got my driver's license. I did my permit, I did my permit test at the DMV driver's license. And I think the only other time I've been back at the DMV is like to update
Mm-hmm.
something. But in Brooklyn, this is like when they first installed
Yeah,
kiosks. So you just go to the DMV, go to the kiosk, you update it, and like that was it. And I was thinking about that today when I watched that episode. Like, why does everyone make the DMV like this horrible experience
yeah,
to have? Um, and it's just because it's government
yeah.
ran, right? Anything government ran just sucks.
But I
That's what it is,
also,
right? Like
yeah, but I
TSA, like
also think it was probably like worse in the 90s. Now we have more technology, so you don't really have to like, especially now after COVID, you can make a reservation online and like you're in and out. But before then, like probably in the 90s, it was probably a shit show. And I think like the
right.
only weird experience I had when I was at the DMV is that I went to the one on 125th Street in Harlem, and um like there was a guy outside selling pencils, and I didn't know he was selling them. I thought he was just giving them away. So I was like, "Oh, I need a pencil," and he was like, "That'll be $1." And I'm like, "Bro, what? Keep your pencil. It was like already used, had some chew marks on it. I don't want this. I'm giving you a
$1 for a pencil. That's
that's too
what's
much
amazing.
money."
Um, Along with the episode we talked about earlier, where Martin thinks they stole his CD player with the dog. It's season 2, episode 16. No justice, no peace. When Martin gets the ticket
Yeah,
and he doesn't want to pay the fine. Um, and it's Tommy on the, Tommy on the stand. Excuse me, hold on. Tommy's on the stand, and it's like, what does this mean, GTD? He's like, that's what's up. He's like, what? I can't hear you. That's your jaws. Like what? Yeah. So he's forcing him to say. He's like, got the draws on here, got the draws. And then he gets up, he gives everyone a high five, and then Martin's like, oh, he's running around dancing. He picks up the call. He's like, yep, nope. He got the draws. I heard. All right, cool, peace. And then Martin loses the trial. And then he's like, the Geechee is over, right? He's just dancing. Do the pocket, man. Do the pocket, man. Like, just doing mad, wild rambunctiousness.
that man
Yeah,
had energy.
those are my.
He had so much energy.
The Geechee is over. I love that, man.
Oh, he has so much energy. Um, did you get a chance to watch the episode 18? I think this is season what season is this? Season 3. All the players came when they do the players ball.
Yeah,
That one is great
yeah. I
because they
watched that.
actually have Pam Grier in it. And I thought that was mad cool. And Antonio Fargas, who is also I feel like somebody that gets like looked over when it comes to comedy stuff. He's Jerome's
Right.
like arch nemesis. Um and he's essentially playing the same character he played in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. But he's really funny too. And they had Outcast. Outcast was on that episode. Um
Young
Coolio.
outcast where Big Boy was like big
Yeah.
unhealthy boy.
Coolio. Coolio was in that episode.
It's and salute and eternal blessings to Coolio. I think I watched that episode like 2 days after he passed
Oh,
away, um, and I think overall, watching this and reminiscing about all these black actors and watching how everyone
yeah.
gets put on. The episode with Biggie Smalls, um, like watching Biggie Smalls, like it didn't feel like he was acting. It just felt like this very like Biggie just has this very natural, charismatic dialogue within, like
Yeah.
yeah, within him. Like it's just like this smooth talking, just kind of going through it. Um, it's nostalgia, like not feeling like we
Yeah.
get that anymore on television, right? Like that season 4, it was like someone in
Yeah.
every episode, right? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Sherman Hemsley, um, Webster, right?
Gary
Excuse me, not
Coleman.
Webster. Gary Coleman, Mad Dog No Good, or whatever his name was. There's always, you know, making sure people are still eating and keeping the pioneers relevant. By
Yeah,
putting them in a game and bridging the gap to let allow the younger generation to kind of see their worth. Like I said, like especially with, like Mr. Jerry, I say, I love seeing older black people
yeah,
working. Like I love seeing them just interacting and just not not living like the cliche life. Like the woman from 227,
Jackie
I forget
Harry.
her name. She was on
Oh no, oh, is it Marla
right, right,
Gibbs?
right. No, no, no.
I think it's Marla Gibbs.
Helen Martin, is it? Mm,
Yeah, Marla
yeah,
Gibbs.
Marla Gibbs. Yeah, yeah. She when she was a housekeeper for
Hmm.
Martin and Gina. It's just it's good to see that, and it never feels like the special guest stars are like
Yeah,
filler, right? Or they're just there to kind of take it. They're just smoothly integrated into the chaos and
yeah,
fun of it all. Sometimes like the jokes they use are kind of whack and dry, but they're not professionals. They're trying, but it
yeah.
still works
Definitely,
for what it is.
they really do a good job of etching out the character, and making them like, okay, look, this is Marla Gibbs. She's a comedy legend, and here is Pam Grier. She was in all the '70s movies that you loved growing up as a kid, so we're gonna throw her in there. On top of like a lot of musical guests, Babyface, um, Brian McKnight, Outkast. Snoop Dogg was in an episode. Biggie, like you said. So it's definitely like it's cool to see. And like you said, this like I feel like sitcoms at its purest don't exist like they used to. But I feel like especially with shows like Martin, shows like Living Single, they did such a good job of bringing in other black actors and actresses, comedians, musicians, and saying like, here, this is us showing the appreciation for you. Like, come on, get on the
Right.
show. And they come and they do it. Like, it's cool because he wasn't just, like you said, he had on the elders too, Sherman Helmsley. Like, just, that's just cool. I think it's very cool.
Yeah. 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 So what are some overall themes that stood out to you throughout these three seasons?
Definitely Battle of the Sexes. That is just
Okay.
the, that's just the theme.
Ever
Yeah,
present
it's
theme,
definitely the
right?
ever present theme when it comes to Martin is the battle of the sexes. Who's wrong? Who's right? Who's being insensitive? Who's being too sensitive? Immature versus mature. It's definitely that. I feel like pretty much up until probably until season like the middle of season three or the end of season three, and then it kind of shifts gears in season four to like married life and navigating married life, but still, again, it's still battle of the sexes. Um, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It makes for good TV. It makes for even better comedy. But were there any
Right.
themes that you saw besides Battle of the Sexes, or did you see Battle of the Sexes too?
Um, I looked at the relationship dynamic because, like, for me, it's the show is very much
Hmm.
like a relationship show, and not just friendship, but I feel like the core of the show is the relationship between
Right.
Gina and Martin, and I think you know we talked about the first episode, first season. We talk about Martin's fragile ego at times. A recurrent theme that stands out to me is standing by your man. Like, if it feels like no matter what, there's jokes, there's Gina stands up for herself, but sometimes she just lets
Yeah.
her man have it. Sometimes she just lets him have it. I'm trying to find the episode, but I have bad lighting. But it's the episode when I mentioned this when Gina loses her job because Martin wanted her to be at home and cook dinner and all that, and Gina's home having a blast, yo. She's relaxing, she's kicking back. And then she starts intruding on
Yeah.
Martin's personal time. Like she beats him 911 when he's at work. He comes home. She's like, "What you doing?" what you been up to? Like, how's work? Just being, mad, annoying. And Martin finally gets sick of it. So Martin goes in the room. Gina calls her office. And, but I think no, no, I think her boss calls her, and she negotiates. She's like, I want a bigger office. I want a salary. No more overtime. No more weekends. And he, you know, it's a done deal. The next scene is Martin going to see Gina's boss again, and like he's like a
Yeah.
like a nerdy black guy. He's like, "What's up, home skillet?" Home G or stuff like whatever, whatever old people say. Um, and Martin's like, "Listen, man, you can't have Gina. Gina needs to go back to work. I want her to get a bigger office." The boss is like, "Done." And Martin lists out everything Gina already asked for, and the boss agrees to it. Martin's like, "Can I get? Oh, since you're giving stuff away, can I get a Rolex too?" And the boss is like, "I think you kind of take advantage of me." So they cut the next scene. Martin goes home. He's like, "Gina, baby, I got you your job back." She's like, "You got my job back?" He's like, "Yeah, baby, I got you the office. I got you this. I got you that. I got you that." And Gina's like, "You did all that for me, baby?" He's like, Marty Moore got you. And she just kisses him,
Yeah.
and like that's it, right? And it's like that. Sometimes the man with the weak
Yeah.
ego just needs it, right? And I think that's like I believe in gender
Hmm.
roles to an extent, right? I believe, and I think those are mutually agreed upon between individuals. I believe that sometimes you just let people have it, and Mars a good dude, right? At the end of the day, he's a real good dude. He has this ego, overbearing ego, and all of that, and he's always trying to do right. So sometimes you just let him have it, right? And I think that's a key function and awareness, I think, of a healthy relationship, right? Like sometimes a man just needs it more, and you just let him have it, just so he feels like he's doing good for you. Because in other aspects, he
Yeah.
is.
I don't necessarily think, I think I might have said that I thought Martin was a good guy in the first season, but now that I think about it, he's not, I don't think he's good. I think he's harmless, which is different. He doesn't, the things he does,
Mm,
they
mm.
don't really amount to too much trouble. You know what I mean? He's not like getting people in like severe trouble or ridiculous, like very, very dangerous trouble. Maybe ridiculous, but not like dangerous. So he's more harmless than anything. I think it was really nice that Gina did that for him because I feel like he would not do that for Gina until he
Mm.
realized he was being a dick. And the example I'm going to use is
Right, right, right,
the
right.
when they do season 2, episode 2, really Gina is not my lover. When he has the high school reunion and he's trying to show up Ricky Fontaine. Pretty Ricky is what they call him,
Pretty Ricky, what they call
right?
him.
And he's like, Gina, you gotta go get your hair done. You gotta get your nails done. Take you to the spa, do all this stuff, and he puts her through all of this. She ends up having that bad allergic reaction, and she's trying to show up for him, and she's in bad shape. And he's just like, you know what?
She
Oh
was
God, was
it
it
was rough for
rough?
her.
Because
It
at
was
the end
rough
of that,
out
she
there.
was wilding. But also, I would know if you knew this fact about Robert. His name, his Instagram handle is. He's like Ricky Fontaine had a little brother. His name was Chico Fontaine. Pretty Chico is what they call him.
I never noticed that.
Tommy talks about it. Yeah, I think he was
I
a
never
little brother
realized
or
that. I
older
never
brother
realized
because
that.
Tommy was beefing with Chico Fontaine and Martin was beefing with Ricky Fontaine. So it's pretty funny. Yeah. But
That's
like she
hilarious.
ends
I
up
like
when
that.
she ends up showing up completely drugged out, face swollen, looking apps like embarrassing. And at first he's like trying to hide it. He's like, get out of here. Like, you're gonna embarrass me in front of all these people. And then like realizing like, well, I love Gina. I can't have like Ricky Fontaine disrespect her in front of all these people. This is bullshit. And so he punches him. And he does it for Gina,
Right.
but it took so much to get him
Yeah.
to do that. Like she had to be embarrassed. Her eyeliner was all fucked up. She was high on Benadryl. And then it was just kind of like he could have just had her be who she is all the time. Because if anything, she was always getting made fun of for being too bougie, right? She wouldn't have fucked that
Right,
up
right, right.
at that reunion. She would have
True.
been perfect for that reunion because this is the kind of girl you show off. She's got her own career. She's nice. She's got like that big beautiful head, and he overdid it.
I like that you said she has a big
He
beautiful
overdid
head.
it.
I like that.
But yeah, I definitely think because she's not somebody that needs her ego stroked as much as Martin does. But that was a genuinely nice thing for her to do for him, and like say like thank you for doing that for me because his heart was in the right place,
Right.
but only because she was getting on his nerves. Not necessarily because he felt so bad he got her fired, but because he like she was like you're being annoying now. I need you out of my hair. But yeah, he's harmless. I think for the most part.
I like that's good language, right? He's safe, right? He's safe up to. We talked about this in the last episode. You know, there's always a threat of physical violence, but we never really see him
Yeah,
put hands on anyone, right? Like I said, he always
yeah. He
misses
might
by an
get
inch. Random spoons. Did you see that episode when they were gonna open a
yeah, and
restaurant?
they
Stan
almost
came
ended with
back.
MC Hammer.
Yeah, 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 random spoons, and he was about to kill Cole on that. So in the last episode, I talked about like the sets and the color. I want to know if you picked up on anything. I feel like it kind of faded out toward season 3. I feel like season 2 was still there was still a lot of mixing when it comes to
Hmm.
like clothing and set design and color. Wanted to know if you picked up on any of that, and how did you feel about the new sets? Like I love watching shows and seeing
Yeah.
the budget get increased, right? Like Nipsey Place, right? Nipsey
Hmm.
Place is like a huge set. You know, you get a lot of additional actors and stand-ins in the back. You know, you paying additional people, and it becomes like a recurring set that they use where they finally they get out of get out their apartment, get out of Martin's job. You know,
Yeah.
even Word on the Street started out with just like a piece of paper, Word on the Street, and then by season 4 it's graffiti and it's like a nice beautiful setup. How did you feel
I
about
def
the set
I
designs
definitely
as
like
the
the set
seasons
design
alone?
for the TV show because I thought it was cool that after Stan sold the radio station to the country music guy, um, that you can see like he's moved forward in his career. So it was like, oh, Martin is succeeding at the things he wants to do. I really like that. I don't think I was a big fan of Nipsey's. I don't think there was anything necessarily wrong with them going to Nipsey's, but I feel like I don't know for some reason I didn't realize how big, how important that set was on the show. I feel like maybe when I watch those episodes, I just kind of glaze over the location for Nipsey's because it didn't really stand out to me. But I definitely liked the TV station because it brought like a new element when you see Martin he takes it more serious. But Nipsey's is just I just didn't really pay attention to. I don't know why. I don't think I really liked Nipsey as a character because he was just like he was just
Really?
there. He was just like the guy
Well,
that
all
owned the
right.
place. Then they needed to have a guy that owned the place. So I didn't really.
He's like a
Yeah,
Cheers
yeah.
type guy.
Where everybody knows your name.
I like, right. I like um I like Nipsey just because it's like this it's a
Hmm.
it shows Martin in communal spaces and shows who he really is. Um I think I think I kind of get, or I have an idea of what maybe why Nipsey's wasn't as appealing. I don't think they were as physical.
Right.
There wasn't that much physical comedy at Nipsey's. The few scenes that were physical were like Pam being upset and like crushing, like when Gina's bougie friend came by who was trying to keep it real, and Pam like crushed that glass bottle in her hand. But outside of that, like I don't really feel like they got too physical. Like, but there's a scene, there's that episode where Martin gets hustled when they come back. I think it's season 3 episode, excuse me, season 4 episode 1 when they
The
come
wedding.
back
Yeah.
from the honeymoon. Yeah, and Martin gets hustled by this female pool player, and he's there with one sock on. He's in his boxer briefs and his tank top. He's like, oh, he's doing his little shy thing, like, um, yeah. But besides that, yeah, there really isn't that much. I think most of the scenes I remember from Nipsey are them like eating food, and I always remember being a kid, like watching, like being a kid watching people eat on TV, and
Yeah.
always wishing you had that. Like always wishing I like, damn, I wish I had those potato skins with with extra cheese on top of buffalo wings. But yeah, I get that. I get that. Earlier you brought up his like
Hmm.
dedication to his like his working craft. When Stan sold the radio station, Martin
Yeah.
trying to play ball, right? And he's like he embraces the country style. He embraces what he thinks this new owner wants, and he's like he gets the hat, yeehaw, you dancing, all of that, and then it's not what they want, right? They want they want niggerdom, they want hip hop shit, right? And he gets this new talk show, and we get to see the evolution of him competing with Bruh
They
Man, right? They
called
call
me.
Bruh Man, right? But you like
Hmm.
you value what the show is, right? You value what Word on the Street is, and like really thinking about its significance, right? Like a
Right.
place where people go to be real, right? Ain't no bullshit, ain't no none of that, right? And even on his end, like a lot of what Martin did on the radio is fronting and joking at times, but on camera you can't front, you can't joke. Everything is called out, and I feel like we don't see that much
Right.
with Word on the Street. I don't feel like he fronts that much on the show. It's more about like the guest and like reaching out to the community and putting more people on. This episode with Charlie Murphy's there. Like they try to give him a makeover. Like Gina's firm
Yeah.
ends up being like a consulting, and they try to make Martin like bougie and all of that. And we talked about this in the last episode. Their worlds
At
shouldn't
all.
collide. Like their worlds shouldn't collide ever. Um, and you see again, Martin is being real, being his real self, and offering his fan base like what it wants, which is just the bullshit, right? We want the Maury bullshit, we want the Jerry Springer bullshit, but without the violence, but with the threat of the violence, which people enjoy just as much, and holding people
Exactly.
accountable for
It's
whatever
kind
they
of
do
gave
in
me
life.
like it kind of reminded me of Parenthood when they briefly had the TV show and everybody was when when Robert had the TV show with Wendell. Was it Wendell?
Um,
Remember they were doing like they had the public
Not Brothers
access
on the
channel and they
Balcony.
reviewed a movie and then they kept getting was it called
Was
Brothers
it
on the
Brothers on the
Balcony?
Balcony? The what did you it was the
Me neither.
I
We
can't
should know
remember it.
this.
It wa- I think it was Brothers on the Balcony, and you it was the something like this.
Yeah.
I give it
It's like much love or
too much
something
love or
like
something
that.
like that.
Or no love.
Why
I think it
I
was
can't
that.
remember.
All love and no love,
All
something
love,
like
all
that. But it
love, no
reminded
love.
me
Let's
of
see.
that a little bit. Because they got mad at how Robert was talking about the show, the movie. And then he got all this terrible feedback and then he put that guy he pretty much put that guy out to pasture. Like this guy's bullshit and he doesn't mean anything he says. He's not a real gangster. He's not this, he's not that. And then the crowd was like, all right, he's right. We agree with him. So you kind of get that vibe from when they tried to
Right,
change his show to make him seem more like put together and whatever shit they were going for. And the audience didn't like it. And then he realized like I don't like this either. What am I doing? Like I have to if I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it because he's serious about it and because it's fun and because he enjoys it, then he's got to be his authentic self. Even if that means he's sometimes can be a dick. Rather be a dick than like, not a dick if that's who
right.
you are. Um, but yeah, like Gina, she does too much sometimes. But I will say that her fashion got a little bit better in these seasons 2 through 4.
Yeah, I was
I
looking
was
at
like,
her
all right,
clothes.
all right.
I was thinking about that
Yo,
too.
it was bad.
You was
I was just
roasting
like, these
her.
suits are ill fitting. It is strange. But I feel like everyone stepped up their game. I feel like Cole's hats got bigger too. Cole's hats got bigger, definitely. And I feel like Tommy got some
Yeah,
nicer vests, and Pam was still killing it as usual, and so is Martin. Martin is so well dressed.
yeah.
But yeah, that definitely evolved in seasons 2 through 4. Gina still had some misses, but it was a lot more hits. A lot more hits.
Right, right, right.
it's
Bruh man has his own unique
too
style.
it's too tiny clothes.
Um, oh, I wish I had me some meat to put up
Sandwich.
on this sandwich.
Clifford, can I ask you something? Do you say
I
sandwich or do you say sandwich?
I want a sandwich. Sandwich. Probably
Sandwich.
just a sandwich. Yeah.
Okay. Because I know a lot of people from Brooklyn say sandwich, like with the
Sandwich.
G sound. Yeah.
I've never heard that in my life. Honestly, I've never heard that, or I probably never paid attention.
I knew a bunch of dudes
Sandwich.
from East New York and they used to say sandwich. And I'm like, sandwich? And they're like, yeah, that's how you say it, sandwich.
Sandwich. Sandwich. Nah. Sandwich.
It's good to know.
It's good.
Maybe it's just an East New York thing.
I'm on the other side of Brooklyn. That
Yeah.
East New York, Brownsville. That's the dark side of Brooklyn. Maybe that's why they talk like that. That's
Where
the
they have sandwiches.
yeah. What's the Lion King where Mufasa is told never to go?
Oh my gosh.
No,
What is
no,
it? What did he call it?
uh,
It's where the light doesn't touch.
yeah, yeah. There was. I mean, this isn't like I didn't just make that up. There was a meme like when the internet first coming out and memes were invented. There was a meme of like Mufasa and Simba, you know, and Mufasa like this is all of us, yeah. And
And
Simba's like, what about over there? And Mufasa's like, that's Brownsville. We don't go there, son. We don't go.
that's fucked up. Because I've seen the same thing said about the Bronx. They'll be like, that's I don't know what neighborhood is like, or it's probably just all of the Bronx. Because
Bronx,
people
right,
shit on
right,
the
right.
Bronx all the time. It's like that's the Bronx. We don't go there. And I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
Bronx not that bad. It's not that bad over here.
Um. So cultural significance. What can Martin teach us about what has watching Martin maybe or maybe yeah maybe what has watching Martin revealed about our current state of affairs and relationships, friendships. What do you think?
I think even though I said like the most prominent theme is like the battle of the sexes, it really does show that they had a really good solid friend group. I think that's culturally significant because I feel like a lot of the time with sitcoms and situation comedies, sometimes they put such an importance on family and we sometimes forget about chosen family.
Right,
And with this show, you see a lot of them being each other's chosen family. Because even when in season 4, when Tommy gets into the accident, like Martin is like, "What am I doing?" Like like because he thinks that Tommy is seriously injured, and they're reminiscing about it, and it's just realizing like those things can be really important. Um, to black people too. Friendship is important to black people too. I feel like another it's culturally significant because like you said and like we both said, Martin made sure to include everybody in terms of like our elders, musicians, comedians, actors, everyone like he had on this show. And Martin is such a Martin is always on everyone's list for like favorite shows.
right.
And I think that's because he's just so funny. And I feel like he really, I don't know, I don't know how to really phrase how culturally significant it is. Like, it was just cool to see a really just average Joe just be like dress dopely, be funny, have like homeboys, have a girlfriend, and then they just all hang out and they have fun and they're friends. I think sometimes the simplicity of Martin is culturally significant because it's just nice to see, you know.
Do you feel that bonds like that still exist in our current
Um,
culture?
as far as like friends,
yeah, groups of friends who uh get on each other's nerves,
Hell
but
yeah.
still like have great foundations.
Hell yeah, of course. Especially for me, I don't I don't keep in contact with a lot of my family, but like since I was 19 years old, I've always until this age, I'm 35, I've run with the same, group of people, and they've been my important people. Like you've seen, we get the dumb T-shirts made with all of us on it, and
Right, right,
like that's our fun stuff that we do. And of course, sometimes we'll probably bump heads. I'll be like, oh gosh, am I annoyed by this, or do I need to like take a break or whatever? But it's never serious enough for me to be like, I don't want to have anything to do with these people. These people are my family. I think chosen
right,
family is just it's so important because you build these relationships from scratch. It's not forged in your destiny. Like people, they feel like you have to be friends, you have to forgive family, you have to do this with family. Everything is like family oriented, but I think it's nice to be able to pick those people for yourself as well. Um, so I definitely think, and maybe I subconsciously thought it, like saw how nice it was, especially with shows like I said before, Living Single, Martin, to see groups of friends function as families. They depend on each other, and that makes them community. You know,
right.
so yeah, I think that's what it is for me. Just being able to see like friends function as family, because sometimes that's what you have, and you need to understand that you need to appreciate it. Um, what do you think Martin is? What do you think the cultural significance of Martin is?
I don't know. Like I feel like on one end, I think now more than ever, we're focused on our friend groups. I feel like when people are more focused on the families and friendships, that well, you mean I know friendships are built automatically, but the families and whether those families are blood family or the families you create, I feel like now more than ever people are kind of focused on that. Um, but it feels like it's to a detrimental aspect because the whole echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people just have like these limited perspectives. We kind of just tend we want to live in our bubble where it feels safe. Um, I I don't feel my personal experiences. I don't feel like bonds are lasting.
Mm-hmm.
And it could just be my bias through my experiences. Growing up and always feeling like I made bonds with these people, and we're gonna, these gonna be my ride or dies for life. That younger naivety,
Mm-hmm.
um, and going through the years and evolving as a person, wanting to have the people you care about evolve alongside with you,
Mm-hmm.
but just seeing that there's nothing, or seeing that people don't have the same time investment or the same desire to build bonds. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of my experience especially these past 4 years with people is everyone wanting to kind of go out and do their own thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that coming at a cost in friendship. Um, I mean, this for example, right? I did, yeah, fuck it, right? Like I did this with Thomas initially, um, and whatever his reasons, whatever he said one reason on why he didn't want to do this, but I know there's an ego behind him leaving this. There was ego, um, and like for me that's whack,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I haven't heard from him since he left this project, and like that's whack to me.
Yeah.
On one end, there's I don't hold grudges against people.
Right.
I'm a very I understand shit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that I think when you've built bonds with people, like there's a level of respect and understanding that exists when it comes to just like, yeah, we tried this, it didn't work, yo, we still peoples at the
Right.
end of the day. But I don't feel like uh, the maybe it's the black male experience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like the black male experience offers that. I think there's a lot of ego, um, fragile ego,
Mm-hmm.
toxic ego. Uh, so I don't. Yeah, I don't see the bond, right? Like I
Yeah.
talked about watching this as a kid, it's me imagining my friends in the future,
Right.
right? Like me and my friends and my homegirls and their homegirls and my lady and her friend and all of that. And it's like, nah, it sometimes it just ends up just being you and your lady,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely.
And you and your lady and her friends. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um it's it's just it's like a process, right? Like
Right.
it's processing the emotions of the bonds you thought were solidified and then seeing them kind of phase out and then just finding truth in it, finding yourself in it, but finding even more value in it, like
Right.
what we got going on is I think is fucking dope.
Yeah.
And I definitely get a lot of great feedback from it too. uh yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from. I think sometimes people don't know how to change a dynamic of a relationship without assuming that people will be offended by the change in dynamic of a relationship. And that's
Right.
probably a conversation you should have, especially if you value the friendship that you're in. But like you said, sometimes people's egos are bigger than, you know, it's too big. They have too much pride. Um, I also think that sometimes people are seasoned. Sometimes people come into your lives, your life, and you enjoy the time you have with them, and then you realize, like, they might you might drift apart. They might have, other concerns. People have different ways of communicating. People don't like. Some people like to communicate a lot. Some people don't like to communicate a lot. Some people don't like text messages. They rather have a phone call. Some people would rather meet in person. Some people might want to FaceTime. So I feel like those are
Right.
all important aspects that people need to take into account, of course. But I definitely think that, like, it also comes with, boundaries and friendships, and just sometimes things don't work. Um,
Yeah.
I've had friends that I was friends with for years and years and years, and then something happens, and I'm like, wow, this is definitely not what I thought it was going to be. But
Right.
you got to go, well, shit. Like, what do I do now? Like, am I going to give up on, um, bonding with other people or whatever the case is? It's like sometimes you just gotta like be like, all right, I enjoyed the time we had together, and it's time to move on. And like I might walk away and be like, all right, that's it. That's the end of it. And that other person might be like, well, I'm upset because the dynamic of our friendship changed. You just never really know sometimes. But that's why I feel like
Yeah.
communication is so important when it comes to stuff like that, because it can resolve so many things. And I feel like the breakdown of communication is what really can destroy any sort of relationship. Um, and I feel like that's an ongoing learning experience for most people. But yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely get what you're saying. But I will say, like, I've had tough times in the last, like, 16 years, and the group of friends that I have now, and I appreciate them immensely. Like, they're great. That includes you too, Clifford. It's just sometimes life comes at you fast, and you just don't expect it. People are unpredictable sometimes, and then sometimes they're very predictable. What can you do?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you hit it on the head with communication.
Yeah.
Like I'm a communicative ass
Mm-hmm.
person, um, and sometimes I get in my head about how often I communicate.
Right.
Sometimes I feel like you're doing too much. So I try to check my ego
Yeah.
by trying to do less and trying to under
Right.
impose. Um, but yeah, all I can do is just talk.
Yeah.
All I can do is talk my piece, and it is what it is. Um, a lot of the biggest challenge I think for me these past few years. I've mentioned like I finally found like my rebirth within the Black
Mm-hmm.
experience, and seeing a lot of feeling experiencing feeling like it's a lot of my experiences are dismissal within the Black experience from other Black people, and like you said, not allowing that to define the future of the experience, right? Like, so what if I know 10 Black people my entire life, right? We built bonds, we friends, we ate, we broke bread, all of that, and all 10 of them turned their back on me. It doesn't mean that the other billions of black people will,
Right.
right? I just have to reassert myself in a new
Yeah.
dynamic to, define the relationship in a new, unique way, and just go with it, right? Because at the end of the day, what my mission is it's
Yeah.
self fulfilling at the end of the day, but also it's about the black experience,
Hmm.
right? And whether the individuals are there or not, I don't really care at this point anymore. It's about the collective work. It's about the collective experience. It's about just growth, and that's all that
Yeah,
matters.
definitely. I 100% agree
Yeah.
with that.
So last but not least, why did besides the obvious and all the reasons we've said before, why did you choose Martin?
I chose Martin because Martin is, I feel like people don't, Martin has played such a, like a huge role, I feel like, in the black experience, just because everybody has seen it. Everyone has watched it. Everyone has enjoyed it. Everyone has like learned from it in a way. I feel like what Martin did obviously dictated how people move in comedy. Um, how even sometimes how people tell jokes. Like look at the, like I just mentioned, like Robert, like screen is whatever his Instagram handle or whatever is just like Chico Fontaine or whatever, and it's just because
Right, right, right,
that to him was so funny, and I feel like bits of Martin will always kind of like stick to you. It's got like a high rewatchability rate in my eyes, and you can introduce this show to anybody, and they'll get a giggle out of it. And I think it's beyond just black people loving it too. Like anybody could love this show because
right,
it's it's just so good, and there's no pandering in it. It's just true to what it is. It's simply that,
right, right, right.
it's just very straightforward, very fun, and just a very, very cool and funny show. And Martin Lawrence he's a genius for what he did with that show, and that cast is so strong, and like they just that was pure 100% chemistry and love on that set. So I definitely think that's why I picked it. It's just an enjoyable show.
You know, I've been seeing this. I'll block people all the time on TikTok because I like no one's original on TikTok for me. Like I rarely see any original comedy on TikTok, and I've been seeing this dude who I don't know if he's really blind. I'm assuming he's not, but he has a stuffed Rottweiler, and he does the thing. And I never made the connection that he stole that from that episode of Martin. Never made that. And I was just thinking about that earlier. Um, just thinking about like no one's as funny and original at nowadays,
Hmm.
right? I can't really think of to me, Chappelle is like the height of what comedy is nowadays. And I'm biased because I don't really listen to really any other
Hmm.
comedians, or I just listen to like older clips of things I listen to and watch. Um, I can't think of any good sitcoms. I mean, Blackish was like probably the last black sitcom that I watched, and I was just like, "What did you say?" There was no. You said Martin didn't. Uh, what was the word you used?
Panda.
Not fit place. Yeah, 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 yeah. Every show nowadays is
Hmm.
pandering. Um, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I don't know.
I feel like there are some shows right now that might be, but it's like you gotta dig for it. What is that show? The Carmichael show.
Oh yeah, the Carmichael Show. Yeah,
I've heard
yeah,
really
yeah. I
good things
mean,
about that show, but I haven't seen
one of
it.
the best, one of the best shows I've probably. I'll put it within like a top ranking show, but definitely one of the best shows to be created with like the past
That's
decade.
cool. And then
Absolutely.
I always hear really good things about Atlanta, but I couldn't really get into Atlanta.
Ooh, yeah, Atlanta's
But
dope
I
too.
love I love Brian Tyree Henry. I love him so much. Brian Tyree Henry, if you see this, I love you so much. I think that you're so funny and talented. But I'm trying to think of anything else that like I don't know because I haven't been really watching a lot of new TV. Um, so it's hard to think. And you know, comedy is,
Feel
yeah,
disconnected, right?
comedy is so diverse sometimes and like very niche. You know what though? There was a show. I don't know if you like Zach Fox. Zach Fox is a comedian. He was like a Twitter, I think a big Twitter personality for a long time, and he does music now as well. But he had a show, Abbott Elementary, which I love. Abbott Elementary. It's not doing, I don't think, anything like super brand new because it's that documentary style, but it's so funny.
Right.
But I
Yeah, yeah. We watched Abbott.
I'm gonna look
Yeah,
it up really fast because this show is really funny. It's so strange and it's really honestly something I haven't seen in a while. It's like, I think it's on Peacock. Bust Down.
Pause with Sam J. Bust
Bust
down.
Down
Okay.
is one season. I'm not sure if there's going to be a second season. One of the main characters on the show recently passed away. Um, but that show is very, very, very funny. Like, I'm talking about crying, laughing, funny, and it's on Peacock. But yeah, I like that. And but yeah, I guess really got to kind of look because there's so many streaming sites now, and you never know who has a good show. So,
Right. We don't want to take risks or take chances or waste our
all
time
my
doing something
money.
not funny. Right. 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 Right.
But
Right.
yeah.
Right. All right. Anything to anything before we wrap up?
Um, anything? Um, no. Watch Martin. Watch seasons 2 through 4. Watch season 1, 2, or watch season 5. It might be a little bit painful, but you should still watch it.
So yeah, this episode. Uh, I mean, if you're listening to it, the episode just dropped, right? So Thursday, October 20th, we'll be doing our YouTube live on Martin. We'll be finishing with season 5 of Martin and the cast reunion, which I haven't watched yet, and I'm happy to kind of save and wait to talk about. Uh, yeah, hope to see you there. Uh, that's all I got.
Bye.
Peace.